Number 1. Start with the unexpected. You guys won't believe this. I went to lunch at Hooters today because it was the closest place to get burgers, and while we were ordering some food, we saw a group of about 10 people come into the restaurant. We didn't think too much about it until I looked over and could not believe who I was seeing. Take a guess. It was Post Malone. Face tats and everything. You know I had to go over and talk to him. When we got close to him, his bodyguards didn't even blink, and he welcomed us to his table. Dude looked much bigger in person. After seeing him on stage and his crazy antics, I expected him to be loud and larger than life. But he turned out to be very soft-spoken and polite. He shook all of our hands, and after we said that we loved his new album, he bowed and said that he really appreciated it. He talked about how he just finished headlining at Fuji Rock, and he'd never think in his life that Hooters would be the one place in Japan where people didn't recognize him. Until us, of course. We eventually got him to throw up the JPP sign in a photo with some friends. Maybe we should visit Hooters on a Monday more often. People are naturally drawn to conversations that ignite interest with the first sentence. You can do this by starting off with lines like, "The craziest thing just happened," or "I need to tell you guys something." Alternatively, making a bold claim or stating an interesting fact could have the same effect, like, "Today marks a really important day," or "I read an article this morning about how Elon's new microchip could help us download information straight into our brains." Some of the most impactful speeches we've heard in recent history adopt a similar tactic. "We stand at a place of battle," one that 40 years ago saw and felt the worst of war. That was President Ronald Reagan. "I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock." That was the Earl of Spencer, who was the brother of Lady Diana. Each of these opening lines makes us lean in, lend an ear, and wonder where the speaker will take us. They jump right into the subject and create suspense and curiosity. Number 2, make it about them. Now that you've gotten your partner's attention with your magnetic opening, start by making the conversation about them. Yeah, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but activating genuine curiosity within you is the first step to grabbing the attention of your partner. The first example could have led into a conversation where I could ask the audience whether they know Post Malone or about the audience's favorite type of music. It's easy for us to keep talking about the topic we introduced, but this could get boring for the people listening quickly since the conversation becomes very one-sided. Switching the focus to our conversation partner may not come naturally to us, so here are a few easy steps to do this. Step 1. Increase your you to me ratio. Talk about their goals, their aspirations, their anxieties. Cicero, a Roman statesman and one of the greatest speakers in the history of the world, said, "Tickling and soothing anxieties is the test of a speaker's impact and technique." He meant that you can capture attention if you remind an audience of a felt need, a pain point, or a threat to their well-being. Step 2. Ask tons of questions. We cover this in our video about how to be a better conversationalist, but make finding something interesting about the other person, something that you may have heard in the conversation that could be a cool fact or idea that you can follow up on with interesting questions of your own, your primary goal. Step 3. Let them talk about themselves. How do you do this? By questioning. I hope you're seeing a trend here. People love to talk about themselves, so let them. By placing the attention to them and their story, you actually become the interesting one. Caroline Webb, a renowned economist and leadership coach, writes, "What's interesting now is that the science is coming in and explaining why is it that someone thinks you're so amazing when you ask them a question about their views on a topic. Why do people love that so much? It's inherently rewarding for their brains. That is a great association for them to have about you, that you're a curious and open-minded person. When asking questions, make sure you focus on quality rather than quantity. Instead of the regular "what do you do" or "where are you from?", next time try questions like "what made you choose that line of work?" or "why did you choose to live there?" Number 3. Keep it concrete at the start. There are a few ways you can do this. Show a prop. Use language that appeals to the senses. Don't test the audience right away with abstract reasoning or complicated concepts. One thing that I've learned is that it's much better to hide your smarts and demonstrate them moderately rather than wear them on your sleeve. Storytelling is a powerful way to get into a topic because we are hardwired to absorb information through stories. Some of history's most iconic figures, Shakespeare, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, and John Lennon, were all talented storytellers, and regardless of age and era, people all over the world recognize their tales. Tell a good story and you'll get the attention that you're looking for. To find the right story to tell, learn to focus on sensory information rather than facts in any event. How did it feel? What did it sound like? How did it taste? When sharing your account of an interesting moment, try to focus on delivering a strong hook in your opening statement. Keep in mind the main point or punchline you're trying to reach, and show rather than tell. Instead of saying that your friend did a funny dance, tell your audience about how he was waving his hands over his head and jumping up and down stiffly like a pogo stick. We'll go into a little bit more detail about how to be a better storyteller in a video with that title. Robert Kennedy Jr., an American activist and environmental attorney, once spoke about conservation on a boat on the Hudson River. He began by pointing south. "If you look in that direction," he said, "you will see the channel that for millions of years has been the largest spawning ground for sturgeon in the world." Of course, when his audience looked where he was pointing, they saw nothing but gray polluted water, not a sturgeon in sight. But he described the image of millions of large fish teeming so densely on the surface of the river that he could have walked across their backs all the way to New Jersey. Only then did he dive into the data about the poor, languishing Hudson River. We hope that you found this video useful. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. Also, follow us on our social media and visit our website at thetopessentials.com to learn more about how you can live the best possible life. See you soon.